Before the sun touches your window, before your phone lights up with someone else's emergency, before a single voice that isn't yours gets a vote in how you feel today. There is a window, and most people sleep right through it, not because they're weak, but because nobody ever told them it was there. Here's what nobody tells you about waking up. The first few minutes of your morning are not neutral. Your mind, fresh out of sleep, is the most open it will be all day. Soft, unguarded, ready to absorb whatever lands on it first. And for almost everyone, what lands first is noise. A notification, a headline written to scare you, a message that turns your morning into someone else's problem before you've even sat up. You don't choose that information, it chooses you, because you handed it the door the second you reached for your phone. Now picture the other version of that morning, the one where you speak first, where your mind hears your own voice saying something true and chosen before the outside world gets anywhere near it. That's not a luxury. That's not self-care. That is armor, and it has to be put on before the fight starts, not during it. This is what we're building today. Not a routine, not a vibe. A defense system for your mind, made of 5 pieces that you put on every single morning before the world gets the chance to hand you its version of who you are. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will not see your mornings the same way again. Let's talk about piece number 1. I am unshaken. Say that to yourself before you've checked a single message, before you know what today is going to throw at you. Not because you know it'll be easy, it won't be. Something today will not go the way you planned. Someone will say something that stings. A task will take twice as long as it should. None of that is bad luck. That's just Tuesday. That's just what days are made of. The Stoics had a word for the people who fall apart every time the day doesn't cooperate. They called them ruled by externals, tossed around by anything outside their control. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Read that again. Whatever color you load into your mind first thing in the morning, that's the color the rest of your day gets dipped in. If the first thought is panic, panic is the dye. If the first thought is, I am unshaken, that becomes the base coat under everything else that happens to you. Being unshaken doesn't mean nothing touches you. It means things touch you and you don't fall over. There's a difference between a tree that never feels the wind and a tree with roots deep enough to take the wind and stay standing. You're building the second one. The wind is still coming today. You already decided you're not the kind of person who gets uprooted by it. Here's the part most people miss. You don't wait to feel unshaken before you act like it. You say it first. You carry yourself like it's already true, and the feeling catches up to the decision somewhere around midday, usually right when you need it most. That's not pretending. That's how every steady person you've ever admired actually built their steadiness, one morning at a time, one decision made before the proof arrived. So when the first hard moment shows up today, and it will, you don't go back and re-decide whether you can handle it. You already decided that this morning, before the moment existed. The hard moment isn't asking you a new question. It's just collecting the answer you already gave. If you're carrying that into today, if you're choosing right now to be unshaken before the day has earned a single reaction from you, type I am unshaken in the comments and let's keep building. Piece number 2. I do not negotiate with comfort. There's a voice that shows up right when you're about to do something that matters. It doesn't sound like fear. It sounds reasonable. It says you've earned a slower start today. It says you can begin the hard thing after coffee, after the emails, after you feel ready. It never announces itself as the enemy. It shows up dressed as common sense, and that's exactly why it wins as often as it does. Comfort is not evil. Rest is not weakness. But there's a difference between rest you chose on purpose and comfort you fell into because nobody made you account for it. One restores you. The other quietly erodes the version of you that was supposed to show up today. And the erosion never feels like erosion in the moment. It feels like a perfectly good reason to wait 5 more minutes. Epictetus put it plainly, No man is free who is not master of himself, not master of the weather, not master of what other people decide to do around you, master of the one thing you actually control, which is the voice inside your own head and whether it runs you or you run it. That mastery isn't a personality trait some people are born with. It's a decision you make fresh every single morning, usually before you even get out of bed. Here's what this looks like in real terms. The comfortable version of you wants the easy task first, because the easy task feels like progress without costing anything. The version of you that doesn't negotiate does the one hard thing first, while the argument against doing it is still half-formed. Not because discipline feels good in the moment, it usually doesn't, but because you already know how the day goes if you let comfort set the agenda. It sets it every day after that too. It never asks for the agenda once. It asks every single morning, and most people just keep saying yes. You're not negotiating today. That doesn't mean today will be brutal or joyless. It means when the small voice offers you a deal, just this once, just a little longer, you recognize the deal for what it is, and you don't sign it. Every time you don't sign it, the next offer gets a little weaker. That's not a theory, that's just how the voice works. It only stays loud as long as you keep giving it leverage. Think about the version of yourself 5 years from now, who is exactly where you want to be. That person did not get there by winning one dramatic battle against comfort. They got there by refusing the small, boring, reasonable-sounding deal over and over on ordinary mornings nobody else was watching. The compounding isn't glamorous, it's just consistent. And consistency, stacked for long enough, starts looking like the thing everyone calls talent or luck. This is also where most people quietly give up without noticing they've given up. They don't make a dramatic decision to quit, they just keep accepting comfort's small offers until the gap between who they wanted to be and who they're becoming gets wide enough that closing it starts to feel impossible. It isn't impossible. It just takes the same tool that built the gap, used in the other direction. One refused offer at a time. So today, when comfort knocks, and it will knock early, probably before you've even finished waking up, you already know the answer. You decided it this morning. You're not cruel to yourself about it. You're not white-knuckling through some impossible standard. You're just done negotiating. The task gets done because it matters, not because it's convenient. And convenience was never the deal you were trying to make in the first place. That's mastery in its actual unglamorous form. Not a single heroic moment. 1,000 small refusals that nobody will ever see except you. And the version of yourself that gets to stand on the other side of all of them. If you're done negotiating with comfort today, if the hard thing is happening first, whether comfort likes it or not, type "I do not negotiate" in the comments. And let's move to the next piece. Piece number 3. My peace is not for rent. Somewhere along the way, most people quietly hand over the lease to their own peace of mind. Not all at once. A little bit goes to the person whose opinion shouldn't matter this much but somehow does. A little bit goes to the comment section, the group chat, the inbox that never empties. A little bit goes to whoever in the room is loudest, because keeping the peace with them feels easier than holding your own. None of it looks dramatic in the moment. It just adds up until your mood on any given day depends entirely on what other people did with theirs. Here's the test. Ask yourself, who currently has the power to ruin your morning with one text, one comment, one look? Whoever that name is, that's who's holding the lease right now. Not because they took it by force, you handed it over, probably without ever deciding to, just by reacting the same way enough times that it became the default. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. And once you understand that, you will find strength. Power over your mind. Not power over what people say about you. Not power over whether the day goes smoothly. Power over the one piece of this that was always actually yours. Most people spend their whole lives trying to control the parts that were never available to control and ignoring the one part that was sitting in their hands the entire time. Saying, "My peace is not for rent," doesn't mean you stop caring about people or stop feeling things. It means you stop handing the steering wheel to whoever shows up with the strongest opinion that day. Someone can be wrong about you, loud about it, completely convinced, and your peace can still stay exactly where it was. Those two things are allowed to exist at the same time. People assume calm means agreement. It doesn't. Calm just means you didn't sign the lease today. This gets tested early, usually before lunch. Someone will say something careless. Someone will misjudge you, or misread your intentions, or just have a bad morning and aim it in your direction. The old version of you would have spent the next 2 hours running that interaction on a loop, rehearsing comebacks you'll never say, losing the day to a 5-second exchange that the other person probably forgot about already. The version of you that owns this morning's declaration notices the moment, feels it honestly, and then keeps walking. Feeling something and renting out your whole day to it are not the same action, even though they get confused constantly. There's a kind of strength that looks like nothing is happening on the surface. No big reaction, no dramatic comeback, no proving anyone wrong. Just a person whose mood an hour from now still belongs to them. That's not coldness. That's someone who already paid off the lease and isn't taking out a new one over something this small. This is also, quietly, one of the most freeing things you can decide in a single day. Because the moment your peace stops being for rent, you stop performing for an audience that was never paying attention the way you assumed they were. You stop adjusting your whole internal weather based on a stranger's passing mood. You get your hours back, the ones that used to disappear into worrying about things you can't change and opinions you never asked for. So today, when something tries to take the lease, and something will try, you already know what to do with it. You're not going to fight it loudly, you're just not going to sign. If you're keeping your peace exactly where it belongs today, with you, not up for rent to anyone who knocks, type "My peace is not for rent" in the comments, and let's keep going. Piece number 4. What breaks me, builds me. Somewhere you're carrying something that didn't go the way it was supposed to. Maybe it's recent, still raw enough that you can feel it when you're not even thinking about it directly. Maybe it's old, something from years back that you thought you'd packed away, except it still shows up sometimes in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday for no clear reason. A loss, a failure that felt bigger than it probably was, except it didn't feel that way at the time, it felt like the truth. A version of you that got knocked down hard enough that getting back up took longer than anyone, including you, expected it to. Here's what almost nobody tells you about that kind of pain. It doesn't come pre-labeled. It doesn't arrive with a tag attached that says what it means or what it's for. You attach the meaning. 2 people can go through the exact same loss and end up 5 years later in completely different places. Not because one of them was stronger, but because one of them decided what the experience was going to be used for, and the other one let the experience decide that on its own. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. Not gets removed from the way, becomes the way. That line sounds almost too neat the first time you hear it, but sit with it for a second. It's not saying the obstacle doesn't hurt. It's saying the obstacle is not separate from the path you're walking. It's the next stretch of it, whether you wanted that stretch or not. This is not about pretending the hard thing didn't hurt. It hurt. Pretending otherwise is its own kind of lie, and it doesn't actually protect you from anything. It just delays the part where you deal with it honestly. What breaks me, builds me, isn't a denial of the pain. It's a decision about what happens after the pain has already done its damage. The damage is real. What you build from the wreckage is also real, and that second part is the part you actually get to choose. Think about the version of you that exists right now, today, reading or hearing this. Some piece of who you are, some instinct, some strength, some quiet stubbornness that refuses to quit. That piece did not come from the easy seasons. It came from the season that nearly took you out and didn't quite manage it. You wouldn't trade away the strength. You'd probably still trade away the pain that built it if you could. Both of those things can be true. Nobody's asking you to be grateful for what broke you, just to stop pretending it built nothing. This is also where a lot of people get stuck without realizing they're stuck. They carry the wound forward every single day, fresh, like it happened this morning, replaying it, letting it define what they think they're capable of now. The wound becomes the whole story instead of one chapter in it. What breaks me, builds me, is the decision to let yesterday's damage stay in yesterday while still keeping whatever it taught you, the part that's actually useful, the part that makes you harder to break the same way twice. Seneca wrote that we should count each day as a separate life, not erase what came before it, but stop forcing every new morning to carry the full weight of every old wound. Today gets to open clean, not without memory. You keep the memory, you just don't let it run the morning. So whatever broke you, name it honestly for a second. Don't rush past it. Then ask what it actually built in you that's still there, still usable, still yours. That's the trade you're making today, not forgetting, building. If you're choosing today to let what broke you become fuel instead of a life sentence, type "What breaks me, builds me" in the comments, and let's finish this. Piece number 5. I begin now, not when it's easier. 4 pieces of armor are sitting in your hands right now, and every single one of them is just words until this last piece activates them. You can say, "I am unshaken" every morning for the rest of the year. You can refuse to negotiate with comfort, protect your peace like it actually belongs to you, decide that what broke you is going to build something. All of it stays exactly where it is, sitting in your head as a nice idea, until you do the one thing that turns an idea into a life. You begin, not eventually, not once the conditions line up. Now, with whatever you've got, from exactly where you're standing. Here's the trap almost everyone falls into without noticing. They're waiting to feel ready. They're waiting for the fear to leave first, for the doubt to quiet down, for some future version of Tuesday where everything feels less uncertain than it does today. That Tuesday isn't coming. The fear doesn't leave before you start. It leaves after, somewhere in the middle of doing the thing, usually right around the point where you stop checking whether you were ready and just kept going. Seneca wrote that to begin is half the work. Not a small head start, half. Think about what that actually means. The distance between someone who's been planning a thing for 3 years and someone who started badly yesterday, that distance favors the person who started badly yesterday, every time. Planning feels like progress. It isn't. It's just a comfortable place to stand right outside the door, telling yourself you're basically already inside. This is the part where most people quietly talk themselves out of the whole morning. They hear all of this. They feel something move in their chest. They agree with every word, and then they close the tab and go back to exactly the same pattern they had yesterday, telling themselves tomorrow is when it really starts. Tomorrow always sounds like a better day to begin than today does. It never actually is. Today just has the disadvantage of being the one you're standing in. You don't need the whole plan figured out before you take the first real step. Nobody who built anything worth having had the ending mapped out at the start. They had a direction and a willingness to move before they could see the whole road. One message you've been avoiding, sent today instead of rehearsed for another week. One hard conversation had instead of postponed again. One page, one rep, one email, one decision made out loud instead of just turned over silently in your head for the 100th time. That's the whole beginning. It doesn't need to be impressive. It just needs to actually happen in the real world, not just in your intentions. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his private reflections for an audience. He wrote them to himself every morning before the empire showed up with its demands, before plague and war and betrayal had the chance to set the tone of his day for him. He set his own mind first, on purpose, as a discipline, not as a mood. That's the whole practice this is built on, not some ancient mystery. A person choosing, every single morning, to meet the day on his own terms before the day got the chance to choose for him. You don't need to govern an empire. You need to govern the next 60 seconds of your own morning, and then the 60 after that. The armor isn't something you put on once and wear forever. It's something you put on again tomorrow and the morning after that, because the world doesn't stop testing it just because it held up once. 5 pieces. Unshaken, refusing to negotiate with comfort. Peace that isn't for rent. What breaks you, building you instead of burying you. And beginning now before you feel ready, because ready was never actually going to arrive on its own. Say it before the phone, before the noise, before anyone else gets a vote in how your day starts. That's the whole practice. And it starts the next time you wake up, not the next time you feel like it. If this gave you something to carry into tomorrow morning, that's exactly what it was built for. Hit like if it landed, share it with someone who needs to hear it before their own day gets loud, and subscribe to Stoic Origin if you want to keep building this kind of mental armor every single morning. There's more of this waiting for you here. See you in the next one.